They prepared Beatrice Harrow for her wedding night as though another bride were expected to arrive before the Duke. Every mirror in the chamber was covered. The windows were locked, except for the narrow one facing the abandoned northern tower. 2 glasses were placed on the table, but only one was filled. A blue ribbon was hidden beneath Beatrice's pillow, and beside the enormous marriage bed, the housekeeper positioned a 3rd chair. Not 2 chairs for a husband and wife. 3. Beatrice stood silently in the middle of the chamber, while 4 attendants worked around her. No one explained the strange arrangements. They removed the pearl pins from her hair. They exchanged her heavy wedding gown for a pale silver robe. They searched every pocket, seam and fold of her clothing, as if expecting her to carry something dangerous into the Duke's private rooms. Then Mrs. Pollard, the elderly housekeeper of Greymore Palace, approached with a small iron key. "You must keep this beneath your sleeve," she said. Beatrice looked at the key but did not accept it. "What does it open?" Mrs. Pollard glanced at the other attendants. Without being instructed, all 4 women left the chamber. The door closed behind them. Only then did the housekeeper speak again. "It opens the panel behind the eastern tapestry. Why would I need to open a hidden panel on my wedding night? That depends upon who enters this room first." Beatrice's unease deepened. "His Grace is expected to enter first." "No," Mrs. Pollard said quietly. "He is expected to enter last." The old woman pressed the key into Beatrice's palm. Before Beatrice could ask another question, 3 bells sounded somewhere within the palace. Mrs. Pollard moved toward the door. "After the 6th bell, do not ring for a servant." "Why?" "No servant will answer." "Then where will they be?" The housekeeper stopped with her hand upon the latch. Pretending they heard nothing, she opened the door and disappeared. Beatrice remained alone. Beyond the walls, hundreds of wedding guests celebrated beneath the painted ceilings of Greymore Palace. Music drifted faintly through the corridors. Glasses were raised to Duke Alistair Greymore and his reluctant bride. Yet no one in the banquet hall knew that the bridal chamber had been prepared like a trap. Beatrice examined the iron key. A tiny falcon had been carved into its handle. She had seen that symbol before. Not at Greymore, at home. Her older sister Celestine had owned a necklace shaped like the same falcon. Celestine had disappeared 4 years earlier. The Harrow family told society that she had died while travelling abroad. No body had ever been returned. No grave had ever been shown to Beatrice. Her uncle claimed the details were too painful to discuss. Beatrice had never believed him. Now she stood inside her new husband's palace, holding a key marked with her missing sister's symbol. A floorboard creaked beyond the covered mirrors. Beatrice turned. "Is someone there?" No answer came. The curtains surrounding the marriage bed moved slightly, though the windows were shut. Beatrice approached them. She pulled one curtain aside. The bed was empty, but something had been placed upon the pillow. A folded piece of paper lay beside the blue ribbon. Beatrice picked it up. Only one sentence had been written across it. "Do not ask the Duke whether the rumours are true. Ask him what happened to Celestine." Beatrice's breath stopped. The handwriting was unmistakable. It belonged to her sister. 4 years earlier, Celestine had written Beatrice a note before leaving Harrow House. She had promised to return before the summer ended. She never did. Now the same slanting letters stared up at Beatrice from the Duke's pillow. A knock sounded. Beatrice quickly hid the message beneath her sleeve. "Come in." The door opened. But the man who entered was not her husband. Lord Julian Cross stepped into the chamber. He was the man society claimed Duke Alistair preferred to every woman who had ever pursued him. Julian had lived at Greymore Palace for nearly 8 years. He travelled with the Duke, dined at the Duke's table, advised him on every private matter, and according to endless whispers, he was the reason Alistair had rejected 6 potential brides. Julian closed the door behind him. Beatrice backed away. "You should not be here." "No," he said, "neither should you." His statement was calm, not insulting. That frightened her more. "You attended the wedding." I tried to prevent it. Beatrice stared at him. My uncle said the Duke requested my hand. He did. Then why would you prevent the marriage? Because Alistair does not yet understand what your uncle intends. Beatrice's hand closed around the hidden note. What does my uncle intend? Julian looked toward the third chair. Did Mrs. Pollard explain that? She explained nothing. That was wise. Why is there a third chair beside my marriage bed? Because this conversation was meant for 3 people. Then where is the Duke? Searching your uncle's carriage. Beatrice's confusion became anger. I was brought here against my wishes. I was married to a stranger, while half the congregation whispered that he had no interest in having a wife. Now I discover his closest companion inside my bridal chamber, while my husband searches my family's belongings. Julian did not react to the accusation. Instead, he looked at the sleeve hiding the note. You found Celestine's message. Beatrice froze. How do you know about that? Because I placed it there. She moved toward the door. Julian stepped aside, allowing her a clear path. If you leave now, Sir Malcolm will take you back to Harrow House before sunrise. My uncle would not dare. He forced you into this marriage. He said our estate would be seized if I refused. That was a lie. Beatrice stopped. Her uncle, Sir Malcolm Harrow, had become her guardian after her father's death. For 6 years, he controlled every account, every tenant agreement, and every decision concerning Beatrice and her younger brother. 3 weeks earlier, Malcolm had entered the breakfast room carrying a contract. He informed Beatrice that Harrow House was burdened with debt. The only person willing to rescue the family was Duke Alistair Greymore. The Duke required a wife. Beatrice was required to become one. She refused. Malcolm then placed her 16-year-old brother's school papers on the table. If you reject the Duke, he said, Edmund will lose his education, his inheritance, and the roof over his head. Beatrice signed the marriage contract before the ink dried. But during the wedding ceremony, Duke Alistair had behaved almost as unwillingly as she felt. He had stood beneath the silver arches of St. Orison's chapel dressed in dark blue. His expression remained unreadable. When the clergyman asked him to take Beatrice's hand, he hesitated. Not long enough for the congregation to object. Long enough for her to notice. Julian Cross stood behind him. The 2 men exchanged a look before Alistair spoke his vows. The glance confirmed every rumour Beatrice had heard. Or so she believed. After the ceremony, Alistair barely spoke to her. He remained beside Julian, while guests congratulated Beatrice on winning a husband no woman had been able to claim. Lady Penrose, whose daughter had once pursued him, touched Beatrice's arm with false sympathy. You must not expect a conventional marriage. Beatrice forced herself to smile. I have discovered that conventional marriages are often the least happy. Lady Penrose glanced toward Alistair and Julian. At least you will not be burdened by jealousy. I am already burdened by people who confuse gossip with intelligence. She walked away before the woman could reply. Yet Beatrice had been frightened. Not because of whom the Duke might love, but because everyone appeared to know the truth about her marriage except her. Now Julian stood inside her chamber, speaking her missing sister's name. Where is Celestine? Beatrice demanded. He hesitated. Safe. Alive. Yes. The room seemed to tilt beneath her. Beatrice gripped the back of the third chair. Where? That is not my secret to reveal. She is my sister. And the last time someone trusted you with information about Celestine, your uncle found it. I never knew anything. You received a letter 2 months after she vanished. Beatrice remembered it. A blank sheet of paper had arrived inside an unmarked envelope. She believed someone had played a cruel joke. Nothing was written on it. Something was written. The words appeared when warmed. I threw it away. No, Malcolm took it from your room. Beatrice's eyes filled with anger. How do you know? Because I sent it. The 4th bell rang. Julian turned toward the northern window. We are running out of time. For what? For Alistair to decide whether he trusts you. I married him. Surely he should have decided before today. He did not marry you because he trusted you. The words wounded her pride. Then why did he? Because Celestine asked him to. Before Beatrice could respond, the chamber door opened. Duke Alistair Greymore entered. He had removed his ceremonial coat. His dark hair was disordered, and one sleeve of his shirt was marked with dust. He looked first at Julian. Nothing in the carriage. Then Malcolm moved it, Julian replied. Alistair locked the door. Only then did he look at his bride. His expression softened briefly when he saw her distress. You told her about Celestine. She found the message. Alistair's eyes shifted toward Beatrice's sleeve. What did it say? Beatrice removed the folded paper and held it out. He did not take it. Read it aloud. She obeyed. Do not ask the Duke whether the rumours are true. Ask him what happened to Celestine. Silence followed. The fifth bell rang. Alistair crossed the room and removed the coverings from the mirrors. Beatrice expected to see their reflections. Instead, the largest mirror revealed a narrow corridor behind the glass. It was not a mirror at all. It was a window into another chamber. A woman stood in the darkness beyond it. Her face remained hidden by a veil. Beatrice rushed toward the glass. Celestine? The woman lifted one hand but did not remove the veil. Alistair caught Beatrice before she struck the panel. It is locked from the other side. Why is my sister imprisoned in your wall? She is not your sister. Beatrice turned slowly. Alistair stood beside Julian, his face marked by a conflict he could no longer conceal. What did you say? The woman behind that glass is not Celestine. Then where is she? Alistair looked at Julian. The two men exchanged the same secretive glance Beatrice had witnessed at the altar. But now she saw something different in it. Not affection. Permission. Julian nodded. Alistair faced his bride. The rumours about Julian and me began 4 years ago, he said. I encouraged them. Why? Because no one searched for a missing woman inside the home of a duke believed to have no interest in women. Beatrice looked toward the veiled figure. Who is she? A witness your uncle has been trying to find. And Celestine. Alistair drew the third chair toward her. You should sit. I will stand. The sixth bell began to ring. Alistair waited until the final chime faded. Then he delivered the confession that changed everything. The man everyone believes I prefer is not my lover. Beatrice looked at Julian. Alistair continued. He is your sister's husband. The words struck her into silence. Julian's face tightened with restrained emotion. We married in secret 5 years ago, he said. Then Celestine is alive. Yes. Where is she? Julian looked toward the hidden panel behind the eastern tapestry. Beatrice remembered Mrs. Pollard's key. She pulled it from beneath her sleeve. Alistair's voice dropped. Before you open that passage, you must understand something. What? Your sister did not disappear because Malcolm wanted her dead. Then why? Because she discovered you are not Sir Malcolm's niece. Beatrice stared at him. Alistair stepped closer. He forced this marriage because the moment you became Duchess of Greymore, a sealed inheritance in your true name became legally accessible. My true name? A soft knock came from behind the eastern tapestry. 3 slow taps. Beatrice approached it with the iron key. Her hand shook as she unlocked the panel. A woman's voice whispered from the darkness beyond it. Beatrice stopped breathing. Only one person had ever called her that. Her missing sister was on the other side of the wall. Before we continue, please subscribe to Nightfall Tales and like the video, as your support encourages us to keep creating quality content. The hidden panel opened only 3 inches before something stopped it from the other side. Beatrice pressed her face toward the gap. Celestine? A hand appeared in the darkness. It was thinner than Beatrice remembered, but the ring on its smallest finger was unmistakable. A narrow gold band, engraved with 2 intertwined branches. Their mother had given them matching rings when Beatrice was 12. Bea, the woman whispered again. Beatrice pushed harder. The panel moved just enough for Celestine Harrow to step into the bridal chamber. For 4 years, Beatrice had imagined this reunion in 100 different ways. She had pictured Celestine arriving in daylight, laughing at the family's foolish declaration that she was dead. She had imagined embracing her in the entrance hall of Harrow House while every servant watched. She had imagined explanations, tears and apologies. She had never imagined finding her sister hidden behind the wall of her wedding chamber, dressed in a servant's plain grey gown, her hair cut shorter and a narrow scar running across one eyebrow. Beatrice touched her face. "You are alive." Celestine closed her eyes. "I am sorry." Beatrice embraced her. For several moments neither spoke. Then relief became anger. Beatrice pulled away. 4 years. "I know. You let me mourn you for 4 years. I sent letters, blank letters. Malcolm intercepted them. You could have come yourself." Celestine looked toward the chamber door. "No, I could not." Beatrice followed her gaze. Duke Alistair had moved beside the entrance, listening for footsteps. Julian stood behind Celestine with the expression of a man struggling not to embrace his wife while danger remained nearby. Beatrice remembered the confession. "You married him." Celestine looked at Julian. The pain in her face softened. "Yes. And no one told me. We were trying to protect you." That is what people say when they have decided another person is too weak to know the truth. Celestine flinched. "You are right." The answer stole some of Beatrice's anger. Alistair approached the eastern window. "We do not have long. Sir Malcolm will realize the document was not in the carriage." "What document?" Beatrice asked. "The record of your birth," Celestine replied. Beatrice turned toward her. "You said I am not Malcolm's niece." "You are not. Then whose daughter am I?" Celestine looked at the Duke. He shook his head. "She should hear it from you." The 6 bells had stopped, but a strange silence now covered Greymore Palace. The wedding music had ended. No servants moved in the corridor. Mrs. Pollard had warned Beatrice not to summon anyone after the 6th bell. They were all pretending to hear nothing. Celestine took Beatrice's hands. "Our mother was not Margaret Harrow." Beatrice almost laughed. "Of course she was. The woman you remember as our mother was my mother. She raised you, but she did not give birth to you." Beatrice pulled her hands away. "No. When I was 11, our father brought an infant to Harrow House. He told the servants you had been born during mother's long stay in the country. I have seen the announcement. It was printed 6 months after you arrived." Beatrice searched her memory. There were few portraits of her mother holding her as an infant. Whenever Beatrice asked about her birth, she was told it had been difficult and must never be discussed. Celestine continued carefully. "Your real mother was Lady Eleanor Renford." Beatrice recognized the name. Everyone did. Lady Eleanor had been the only daughter of the Marquis of Renford, owner of one of the largest estates in the north. She had disappeared 19 years earlier after refusing a marriage arranged by her father. Society believed she had fled abroad. Her inheritance returned to the Renford trustees after she was declared dead. Alistair watched Beatrice's face. "Lady Eleanor did not leave England," he said. "Then what happened to her?" "She took refuge at Greymore." The veiled woman behind the false mirror moved. Beatrice had almost forgotten her. The woman raised both hands and removed her veil. She appeared to be in her early 40s, though silver threaded her dark hair. Her features were pale and tired, but the resemblance was undeniable. Beatrice had seen that face every morning of her life. Not in portraits, in the mirror. The woman placed her palm against the glass. Beatrice stepped backward. "No." Celestine reached for her. Beatrice moved away from everyone. "That woman is not my mother." The veiled woman's expression broke. Alistair unlocked a panel beside the false mirror. The glass swung inward like a door. Lady Eleanor Renford entered the chamber. She stopped several feet from Beatrice. "I know I have no right to ask you to believe me," she said. Her voice was gentle. It also sounded strangely familiar. Beatrice remembered hearing someone singing beyond the walls of Harrow House when she was a child. A woman's voice repeating the same lullaby late at night. Whenever she asked the servants, they claimed it was the wind. Lady Eleanor whispered the first line of that song. Beatrice's knees weakened. You were at Harrow House. Until you were 6. Where? In the old West Rooms. Beatrice turned to Celestine. You knew? Not then. I thought Malcolm was hiding a sick relative. Lady Eleanor looked toward the floor. Your father and I married in secret. My family would never have accepted him. My father? Thomas Harrow. Celestine's father. Beatrice's father. The room seemed to rearrange itself around her. You are still my sister, Beatrice whispered. Celestine nodded, tears filling her eyes. We shared a father. Why did he hide Eleanor? Because the Renford trustees were searching for her, Alistair said. If they found her alive and discovered she had a child, the inheritance would pass to that child when she married or reached 21. Beatrice understood. I am 21 next month. And you married today, Julian said. Her wedding had unlocked the inheritance. Sir Malcolm had not chosen Duke Alistair because he needed a wealthy husband for Beatrice. He had chosen him because the Greymore marriage settlement granted the bride immediate control of property held in her true name. But Malcolm had expected to control her through the Duke. Beatrice faced Alistair. Why would my uncle believe you would help him? Because he thought the rumours made me vulnerable. You allowed him to believe he could threaten you. Yes. With what? Alistair glanced at Julian. The truth about Celestine. Beatrice looked between them. Julian spoke. Malcolm discovered our marriage 3 years ago. He believed exposing it would destroy Alistair's reputation. But society already believed you and the Duke were... Exactly, Alistair said. So we encouraged the rumour until the truth sounded like a desperate denial. Beatrice stared at him. You built one scandal to hide another. We built it to protect your sister. From what? Celestine's voice became quieter. From a charge of theft. Beatrice turned sharply. Celestine explained that shortly before disappearing, she had found records proving Malcolm had been taking money from Lady Eleanor's trust. He had created false medical expenses and forged letters claiming Eleanor was too unwell to appear publicly. When Celestine confronted him, Malcolm accused her of stealing family jewels and estate funds. He had witnesses prepared, a magistrate ready to sign the order, servants willing to repeat whatever he paid them to say. Julian helped her escape before she could be arrested. Alistair sheltered her at Greymore, and the public believed she had died, Beatrice said. Malcolm announced it before we could act, Julian replied. Once the lie spread, keeping Celestine hidden became safer than revealing she was alive without enough evidence to clear her. Beatrice looked at her sister. Why did you stay away after you found the records? Because the records were incomplete. Lady Eleanor removed a small locket from her neck. The final proof was sealed with the Renford birth register. Where? Eleanor looked toward Beatrice's wedding robe. In the pearls around your waist. Beatrice looked down. The silver robe had been tied with a long belt decorated with tiny pearls. The attendants had placed it upon her without explanation. Mrs. Pollard had searched every part of her clothing except the belt. Celestine took the end and pressed one pearl inward. A narrow section opened. Inside was a rolled strip of parchment. Beatrice removed it carefully. It was a certificate signed by a physician, a clergyman, and 2 witnesses. It recorded the birth of Beatrice Eleanor Renford Harrow. Attached to it was a declaration transferring the Renford inheritance to Lady Eleanor's lawful child. Beatrice held proof of a life she had never known. Before she could read further, a key entered the chamber door. Alistair extinguished the candles nearest the entrance. Julian guided Celestine and Eleanor back behind the false mirror. Beatrice concealed the parchment inside her sleeve. The door opened. Sir Malcolm entered with 2 men. He smiled when he saw Beatrice beside Alistair. I feared I had interrupted. Alistair moved in front of his bride. You were not invited. I came to congratulate my niece. You congratulated her downstairs. Malcolm's gaze travelled around the chamber. The third chair, the uncovered mirrors, the open wooden panel behind the tapestry. His smile weakened. "You have been busy." Beatrice stepped around Alistair. "You lied about the debts." Malcolm looked at her. "I protected this family. You forced me to marry because my inheritance became accessible tonight." The two men behind Malcolm moved closer to the door. He no longer pretended surprise. "So Celestine reached you." Beatrice's heart pounded, but she kept her voice steady. "You knew she was alive." "I knew she was ungrateful. You accused her of theft. She took documents belonging to me. They proved you were stealing from Lady Eleanor's trust." Malcolm's expression changed when Beatrice spoke the name. He looked toward the false mirror. "Eleanor is dead." "No," a voice said behind him. Lady Eleanor stepped into the chamber. For the first time that night, Sir Malcolm looked afraid. He recovered quickly. "You should have remained hidden. You should never have hidden me." Malcolm turned to Beatrice. "This woman is unwell. She has spent years inventing stories about fortunes and stolen children. She is my mother." "You have no proof." Beatrice removed the birth record. Malcolm lunged for it. Alistair caught his arm. The two men struggled briefly, overturning the third chair. One of Malcolm's companions reached for Beatrice. Julian emerged from behind the false mirror and blocked him. The second man fled into the corridor. Malcolm stopped resisting. Then he began to laugh. "You think one document gives her the Renford estate?" "It proves her identity," Alistair said. "It proves nothing without the family seal." Eleanor's face went pale. Malcolm smiled at her. "You never found it, did you?" Beatrice looked at her mother. "What seal?" "The Renford inheritance can only be released when the birth record is presented with the original seal of the Marquess," Eleanor said. "And where is it?" "I gave it to your father." Malcolm straightened his coat. "Thomas died before telling anyone where he hid it." Celestine stepped forward. "That is why you kept Beatrice close. You believed she would lead you to it. I believed Eleanor had sewn it into something belonging to the child." Malcolm's gaze dropped to Beatrice's waist. The pearl belt. He had arranged for the bridal attendants to dress her. He had known the evidence would be brought into Greymore, but he had searched the wrong object. A knock sounded from inside the wall. Everyone turned. Mrs. Pollard entered through the eastern passage, carrying the blue ribbon that had been placed beneath Beatrice's pillow. She held it out. His Grace's instructions were to wait until Sir Malcolm admitted what he was seeking. Malcolm stared at the ribbon. Mrs. Pollard cut through its stitched edge. A metal seal fell into her palm. The Renford crest shone beneath the candlelight. Beatrice looked at Alistair. "You knew where it was." "I suspected. And you allowed all of this to happen so Malcolm would confess. I needed him to identify the seal before witnesses." "Witnesses?" The covered mirror beside the wardrobe moved. 4 men stepped from a concealed observation room, a royal solicitor, the county sheriff, Lord Bramwell of the Chancery Court, and Beatrice's younger brother Edmund. Edmund whispered. She ran to him. He held her tightly. Malcolm's face emptied of colour. Alistair had not searched the wedding carriage for evidence. He had used it to bring witnesses into Greymore unseen. The strange preparations had never been designed for a wedding night. They had been designed for a trial. The sheriff ordered Malcolm's companions detained. Malcolm looked at Beatrice as if she had betrayed him. "I raised you. You controlled me. I kept you alive. You kept my inheritance near you." Malcolm was escorted from the chamber, but before leaving, he stopped beside Alistair. "You have given her everything," he said. "Do you imagine she will remain your obedient duchess now?" Beatrice looked at the Duke. The question remained between them. Their marriage had been arranged through lies. Alistair had known more than he revealed. He had turned their wedding night into a trap without asking whether she wished to become part of it. The royal solicitor opened the birth record. With the seal and witnesses present, Lady Beatrice may claim the Renford inheritance immediately. "Then the marriage contract is no longer necessary," Beatrice said. The room became silent. Alistair did not argue. She faced him. You married me to bring me here safely. Yes. You encouraged the rumours to protect Julian and Celestine. Yes. And now Malcolm has been exposed. Yes. Beatrice removed her wedding ring. Alistair's face remained controlled, but something wounded appeared in his eyes. She held the ring between them. Then tell me, Your Grace, was I ever your bride, or merely the final piece of your plan? Before we continue, answer this question. Was Alistair justified in deceiving Beatrice because his plan saved her family, or should he have told her the truth before the wedding and risked everything? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Beatrice held the wedding ring between them. Was I ever your bride, she asked, or merely the final piece of your plan? No one in the chamber moved. Not Celestine, not Julian, not Lady Eleanor. Even the officials who had witnessed Sir Malcolm's confession seemed to understand that the answer mattered more than the fortune now resting upon the table. Duke Alistair Greymore looked at the ring in Beatrice's hand. Then he stepped back. You were never merely anything. That is not an answer. No, he said. You were not meant to become my wife. The admission struck harder than she expected. Celestine drew a breath. Alistair, he raised one hand. She deserves the whole truth now. Beatrice closed her fingers around the ring. I am listening. Alistair walked to the window facing the northern tower. When Celestine asked me to protect you, the original plan did not involve marriage. We intended to bring you to Greymore as Lady Eleanor's companion. Once you were safely inside the estate, the solicitor would reveal your identity. What changed? Malcolm discovered Celestine was alive. Julian's expression darkened. He began watching every road leading to Greymore, he said. Every servant entering the palace was questioned. So you invented a wedding? A marriage procession could enter openly, Alistair said. Your household would carry your clothing, personal possessions, and the objects Malcolm believed contained the Renford seal. Beatrice looked at the pearl belt and blue ribbon. He brought the evidence here himself. Yes, and I was never told. If we had told you, Malcolm would have known. You think I could not keep a secret? No. The immediate answer silenced her. Alistair turned from the window. I thought you would refuse. Beatrice stared at him. You were right. I knew enough about you to know that you would never willingly marry a stranger for an inheritance. But I married one to protect Edmund. That was the part I did not predict. Edmund stepped closer to his sister. I told Malcolm I would leave school. I told him I did not want you to do it. I know. No, Beatrice said softly. You do not know what he threatened. Malcolm had promised to place Edmund in the care of a distant cousin known for cruelty. He had threatened to sell the boy's books, dismiss his tutor, and ensure no university would accept him. Beatrice had believed sacrificing her own future was the only way to preserve her brother's. Alistair's voice lowered. I learned of Malcolm's threats after you signed the contract. By then, withdrawing the proposal would have warned him that we knew too much. So you stood at the altar and allowed me to believe I had entered a marriage built upon humiliation. Yes. The honesty was painful, but preferable to another excuse. Beatrice placed the ring on the table. Then the marriage should end. Lady Eleanor approached. You may petition for an annulment. Alistair did not look away from Beatrice. I will not oppose it. Celestine's face fell. But the marriage protected her. It protected her for one night, Beatrice replied. That does not mean it must imprison her for life. Alistair nodded once. The solicitor can begin tomorrow. Beatrice had expected resistance. Perhaps an argument. Perhaps the Duke would remind her that scandal would follow them both. Instead, he released her so easily that an unexpected ache opened inside her. She hated herself for noticing it. The royal solicitor cleared his throat. There is another matter. Everyone turned. He lifted the Renford birth record. The document grants Lady Beatrice control of the inheritance upon marriage or upon reaching 21. She is married, Lady Eleanor said. Possibly. Beatrice frowned. What does that mean? The solicitor removed a second paper from his case. The license used in today's ceremony contains an irregularity. Alistair's expression changed. What irregularity? The groom's full name is written as Alistair Rowan Greymore. That is my name, not according to the sealed record submitted to Chancery this morning. The solicitor placed another document beside the birth certificate. It was a baptismal record. The name written across it was not Alistair Rowan Greymore. It was Julian Alistair Cross. Beatrice looked from the document to the Duke. Julian stepped forward. "What is this?" Alistair did not answer. The solicitor continued. "The baptismal record identifies Julian Alistair Cross as the lawful son of the late Duke and Duchess of Greymore." Silence fell. Julian's face lost all colour. "That is impossible." "No," Alistair said quietly. "It is not." Every eye turned toward him. Beatrice remembered the third chair. The false mirrors, the hidden witnesses, the rumours Alistair had deliberately encouraged. The entire wedding had been built to expose one secret, but beneath it had been another. Julian stared at the Duke. "You knew? For 6 years. Then who are you?" Alistair removed the Greymore signet ring from his hand. He placed it upon the table beside Beatrice's wedding ring. "My name is Alistair Rowan Cross." Julian stepped backward. "No. Our father had 2 sons born within the same month." Lady Eleanor closed her eyes as if she had feared this revelation. Alistair continued. "The Duchess gave birth to Julian. Weeks later, our father's unmarried sister died giving birth to me. To avoid scandal, the infants were exchanged in the household records." Beatrice looked at Julian. "The man society believes is the Duke's companion is the true Duke of Greymore." "Yes," Alistair said, "and you are his cousin. By blood, his brother in every way that matters." Julian's disbelief became anger. "You inherited my name. I inherited the lie our father created." "You could have told me. I tried when I first found the record. You told me the page was incomplete. It was. I needed proof from the Greymore family archive. And you found it 6 years ago. Yes." Julian crossed the room and struck his palm against the table. 6 years. Celestine reached for him, but he moved away. "You allowed me to live here as your dependent. I offered you the title. You offered me nothing. You decided I was safer without the truth." Alistair accepted the accusation without defence. Beatrice saw herself reflected in Julian's anger. Both of them had been protected by people who believed protection gave them the right to choose what others were allowed to know. "Why reveal it tonight?" she asked. "Because Malcolm knew enough to use it against us," Alistair said. He believed exposing Julian as the rightful Duke would destroy Celestine's protection and invalidate every arrangement I had made. "Would it?" The solicitor answered. "Potentially, any order signed by a man without lawful title could be challenged." Julian looked towards Celestine. "Our marriage remains valid," the solicitor said. "You married under your legal name. Your title does not alter the union." Julian's anger weakened slightly. Alistair continued. "I arranged for both birth records to reach Chancery today. By morning, Julian will be recognised as Duke of Greymore." "And you?" Beatrice asked. "I will become Mr. Alistair Cross." The answer carried no bitterness, only exhaustion. The man Beatrice had married was surrendering his title on the same night she gained an inheritance. She studied him differently. For years, he had endured whispers that questioned his private life. He had allowed society to mock him, to protect Celestine and Julian. He had worn a title that was never his while preparing to return it. Yet he had also manipulated Beatrice into a marriage without her knowledge. A noble sacrifice did not erase a personal betrayal. Both truths could exist at once. The solicitor gathered the documents. "Until Chancery issues its decision, no one should leave Greymore." A servant rushed into the chamber before anyone could reply. "Your Grace, Sir Malcolm has escaped." Alistair turned sharply. "How?" One of his men released him from the eastern room. "Where is he now?" "The record archive." Lady Eleanor gasped. He means to destroy the original register. Alistair and Julian ran into the corridor. Beatrice followed. The archive occupied the oldest section of Greymore, beneath the northern tower. Its door stood open when they arrived. Inside, shelves of documents had been pulled apart. Sir Malcolm stood at the central desk with the original Renford register in his hands. He held no weapon. He did not need one. Beside him, water poured from a broken pipe across the desk, soaking every document it touched. "You cannot prove anything without the original," he said. Alistair moved toward him. "Put it down." Malcolm smiled. "You built an elaborate performance, but you forgot the simplest truth. Paper disappears." He dropped the register toward the water. Beatrice reached it first. She caught the book before it struck the flooded desk. Malcolm seized her wrist. "You owe everything to me." "I owe you nothing." "I raised you as a harrow. You raised me as a key you hoped would open a fortune." He tightened his grip. Julian pulled him away. The sheriff entered with 2 officers and restrained him. But Beatrice barely noticed. Water had reached the lower shelves. Hundreds of records were being destroyed. "Close the pipe," Alistair ordered. "It is behind the shelving," Julian said. Beatrice looked toward the falcon key still hanging from her sleeve. Mrs. Pollard had said it opened the eastern panel, but the falcon was not the Greymore emblem. It belonged to the original architect of the northern tower. Beatrice searched the shelves until she found the same carved symbol. She inserted the key. An entire section opened, revealing the main water valve. Alistair turned it. The flow stopped. Beatrice looked at the rescued register in her hands. The final proof had survived because the strange preparation for her wedding night had armed her with the one object needed at the final moment. Sir Malcolm was taken away. This time, no servant helped him. By sunrise, Greymore Palace knew the truth. Within a month, Julian was formally recognized as the Duke of Greymore. Celestine became his duchess, though she refused every grand celebration offered to her. Lady Eleanor returned publicly to Renford House. Edmund resumed his education without depending upon Malcolm's money. Beatrice inherited the Renford estates. Her first decision was to open every account Malcolm had kept hidden. Her second was to repay every tenant he had overcharged. Her third concerned her marriage. The annulment papers arrived on a rainy morning. Alistair came to Renford House without a title, a carriage crest or a servant announcing him. He found Beatrice in the library. "The documents require your signature," he said. She looked at the blank line beneath her name. "You have already signed. I promised not to oppose you. And what do you want?" He hesitated. For the first time since she had met him, Alistair appeared entirely unprepared. "I want the chance to meet you without a plan." Beatrice looked up. "No hidden witnesses?" "None." "No false rumors?" "No." "No secret passage?" "I cannot promise that. Greymore has too many." She almost smiled. He continued. "I should have trusted you before the wedding. I told myself deception was necessary because the danger was real, but necessity became an excuse to decide for you. Yes, it did. I cannot undo that. No. I can only tell you the truth now." Beatrice touched the annulment papers. "What truth?" Alistair's voice softened. "I chose the marriage because it offered the safest way to protect you. But when you walked toward me in the chapel, I understood that I was asking a stranger to pay for secrets she had not created." He glanced toward the ring she still kept on the desk. "I wanted to stop the ceremony." "Why did you not?" "Because you looked at Edmund before answering the clergyman. I realized you were sacrificing yourself for him. If I stopped the wedding, Malcolm would punish you both." Beatrice stood. "And now? Now you need sacrifice nothing." She carried the annulment papers to the fireplace. Alistair watched as she held them above the cold grate. "You are not required to sign today," he said. "I know." She tore them once. Then again. The pieces fell upon the table. Alistair stared at them. "This is not forgiveness," she said. "I understand. It is not permission to arrange my life again. I would not dare. It is an opportunity. For what? To begin the marriage after the wedding. A quiet, astonished smile crossed his face. Beatrice extended her hand. This time, no priest watched them. No uncle threatened them. No hidden witnesses waited behind covered mirrors. Alistair took her hand because she offered it freely. Months later, the strange bridal chamber at Greymore was opened to daylight. The mirrors were uncovered. The third chair was removed, but Beatrice kept the blue ribbon and the falcon key. Not as reminders of the night she was forced to marry a duke, as reminders that the man she married had never truly been the duke at all. His title had been borrowed. His reputation had been manufactured. His wedding had been a trap. But the life they built after the secrets were exposed belonged entirely to them. And in the end, the confession that changed everything was not that Alistair preferred men. It was that he had spent years hiding who every person around him truly was, including himself.